Hi, my name is NJ Shelsby with NJ&H New Media Marketing. Today I'm talking to transformational coach and relationship expert Michele Lisenbury Christensen. And the reason I wanted to talk to Michele is that we all experience resistance in marketing our business, just in putting ourselves out there. And Michele is truly breaking new ground and teaching new ways of being for people that can be even scarier than any of people who have a traditional business experience. And so I really wanted to talk to her about how resistance is showing up for her and the things that she does, because looking at it from the outside in, I see lots of courage in putting herself out there and marketing her business. So I hope everybody enjoys the call. Hi, Michele, are you there?
I am. Hi, NJ.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I'm very happy to hear your voice.
I know. It has been so long since we've talked.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to be my first interviewer for my blog. I've never done an interview blog post before, so thank you very much.
My pleasure. I'm honored, and it'll be fun.
Oh. So, I think I said a little bit in my email that I've become very fascinated with this idea of resistance. And, I had some things happen to me in my life which made me realize that while I thought I was boldly going through life, I was really being held back by this resistance. And I came across Stephen Pressfield's books, Do the Work and Turning Pro, which he really talks about them. And that was the first clue that, wow, I'm not alone in this, that this is something that is really common. And so I'm on this kind of quest to learn more about it and discuss it and to help educate other business owners that these things that are showing up in their lives where they're getting distracted, they're procrastinating, they think they've got ADD, they have a big breakthrough, an opportunity, all of a sudden they're spending a week in bed watching TV, and that all of these things are normal. And, you are somebody that I've known you for like 10 years now. And, and I've always looked at you and seen somebody who puts herself out there, and you're awesome with the marketing and your ability to put yourself out there. And so I thought you were a perfect person to talk to about this.
I happen to think I'm a perfect person to talk to about this for other reasons. The street view of anyone is almost certainly tidier. I've come to realize that than the internal view, and boy, do I know from resistance. So I'm happy to talk about it. And I guess the first thing I'll say is I, too, I'm looking straight up on my bookshelf. It's a high shelf that he's on, but Stephen Pressfield, both The War of Art and Do the Work, are right there between Accidental Genius and Blah, 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 what to do when words don't work. So I am a fan. And it's a very masculine view that he takes of resistance as like a thing. And I believe that, too. I think that story, whether it can be literally proven to be true or not, is tremendously useful to see it as a force like inertia, or one of the manifestations of inertia.
Yeah.
And here in the material world, there are enemies of creation and enemies of putting yourself out there. And you have to view them as enemies, and you have to fight them the way you would fight for your life.
Right.
And Steve, it's a very masculine view. And it makes my solar plexus clench up. And that doesn't always help me move through my resistance.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't feel up for the battle. I don't feel that I can best resistance with a capital R.
Yeah.
If you put it that way, like the Ronin in me
Right.
can't fight that dragon today.
Right. And I think that as a woman who is very, very strong and dominating, as people would describe me, and I feel like I've spent my whole life of that masculine attitude of just fight and dominate, just suck it up and push through and do it. And, at 46 years of age, I finally come to this realization of, you know what? That might not be the best strategy.
Yeah, or might not be the best strategy all the time.
Right,
Sometimes
right.
it might be.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think you're somewhat familiar, NJ, with the model of the 12 elements of power that I teach. And one of the elements in terms of how we handle challenges is fierceness. And by all means, Stephen Pressfield is preaching fierceness in the face of resistance. But fierceness's counterpart is called resilience. And resilience is contained within it other tools for facing our resistance, like compassion, like breathing with what we're noticing. Oh, I notice, I'll just be very current with you. Oh, I noticed that last week I launched this new free program, the 21-day OO Camp, and I'm inviting women to step into an experience of consistent daily pleasure with me. And that's really out there, and it's really taboo, and everybody goes, oh my gosh, Michele, you're so bold. And inside I'm quaking. And some people go, oh gosh, I would tell my list about anything you did, Michele. I love you, and this is too far out there. I can't share it.
Yeah.
And there are just little nudges coming back, and a part of me throughout this week just crawled under the desk and hid.
Yeah.
And it took me several days to even figure out why. So I think resistance shows up that way. Like you said early on, like I think I'm out there and I'm being really bold, and then I realize, most of the time I'm running away from something.
Yeah, wow. That's so amazing for you to say that to me, because you've had a number of successful businesses, and working with power that you and Sarah did was very successful, and you guys were legitimate, and I'm putting my little fingers up making quote marks, because the legitimate from the voices in my head from my family, telling me what I should be doing for work and stuff. And you guys had Microsoft as clients and big name corporations, and now you're doing something that's totally different, and like you said, a little bit taboo and out there. You're on the leading edge of where we definitely need to go, but you're kind of leading the way there. And I'm in awe.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and I'm in awe too. And there's definitely, so I guess that's a concrete example of kind of another way of thinking about resistance that I'd love to introduce, and that is the recognition that we have different selves inside us, and our different selves have, they all think they're representing our interests, but they have very different MOs. Right? So we could almost look at me, and this might sound like a mental disorder, but, we can all relate to that, right?
Right.
Most of us feel like, am I nuts or just kind of nuts? It's one of the two. So, when I thought up this idea and had the courage to express it and to design something and to begin to spread the word and call people in and say, let's do this, one part of me, a courageous part, a rule breaker, one who in service of women awakening their power, and in this case through the doorway of pleasure, calling women to do something other people don't call them to do. That part of me led the charge on that. And then another part of me, because that part of me was leaning so far out in the direction of boldness and taboo breaking, somebody else in me thought it was important to balance the scales. So she leaned just as hard in the other direction. Right? This part of me that maybe tries to keep me safe, maybe doesn't want me to get rejected, maybe thinks I can't handle that. Probably in our cellular memory or our, I kind of think being born again and again through time is as likely as any other scenario. And, so every bold woman has to have memories if that's the case, we must have collective memories of being burned at the stake as a witch, or being stoned for being a prostitute, or, doing sexual healing and then getting betrayed or killed for that. So there's danger, and I think that in our neurology, we have an intrinsic reaction to speaking truth, and particularly about feminine power. It's scary, and we have good reason to be afraid of it. Perhaps less tangible now. Those things I just mentioned aren't legal now. So there's laws on our side in some ways. But we are legitimate in being scared. And so the part of us that is bold has a counterpart, quite literally counterpart, who is shy. And the part of us that steps out, you said you have great successes and cool things come to you, and then you spend a week on the couch. I think that contractive quality within any of us, anybody who's listening to this and can relate to having stepped forward and then pulled back and shrunk almost to smaller than her former size, can relate to that. And I just want to normalize that and validate it as quite possibly healthy. Not that it feels good to me to have my chain jerked in both of those directions, to do something big and bold and feel proud of myself, and then for reasons unbeknownst to me, a few days later, be in full speed retreat. So what can feel better is when we can bring more awareness to it.
Wow. And so not necessarily just resist that other side of ourselves, but understand that it serves a purpose.
Yeah, so exactly. We don't beat ourselves up for going into retreat, but nor do we just surrender to it the way that I tend to have to when I'm not aware around it. When I don't know why I'm stuck on the sofa, I can't get off. I remain stuck. But when I go, oh, right, I just had a really expansive phase. I must be craving some contraction. The part of me that likes to keep me safe, that wants to help maintain homeostasis, that doesn't want me to burn out, that doesn't want me to get burned at the stake, all of these things, seems to be trying to reel me in. So how can I reel in without throwing away last week's good work?
Right. And so how do you do that?
It's a great question, and I think it's behavioral, and it's in the moment. So for me, it looks like having a list of things that I intend to do. And, I don't know if you've heard the phrase, never question in the dark decisions made in the light.
No,
I love that notion.
Yeah.
I love that notion. So I know that we all have moments when we go, yes, this is what I'm up to, and these are the stakes I'm going to claim, and, this is where I'm going. And so we make those plans, and then perhaps we take a lot of action on that, and the next week we're in a more contractive place. That's when that list of things I'm going to do and honing to that list can be really helpful. It's like I have to breathe a lot to be able to post this in this group on Facebook, to be able to send an email to that friend who I know has a community who adore her and who take her guidance. Continue to do the things that I said I was going to do the things that I can imagine doing on behalf of my project, but that I don't feel like doing right now. And this is where, as I said, Stephen Pressfield's a genius, and there's another way. And can you hear? I'm coming back all the way around full circle to meet him. Mm-hmm. You do the work, but from a compassionate place.
So you're saying that you don't re-question the decisions, which I think that a lot of times we do. We keep, is this the right thing? Am I right? Yeah. But
what was I thinking?
Yeah, right. But you stay true to those decisions. But what about, how do you honor that desire to contract? Do you say, instead of spending a week on the couch, I'm going to give myself a day off, and I'm just going to hunker down, and I'm just going to watch, Downton Abbey for a whole day? Or, how do you honor that part of yourself?
I try to do. Yeah, I actually try to pay my dues and then go watch Downton Abbey.
Oh.
So take another of the kinds of moves that I would make if I felt as bold as I felt when I made my last bold move. Just do it anyway. I go through the motions, and then I go, sweetheart, nice job. nice job. You know, the same way that I would with my kids. You don't have to finish this, but you do need to try hard. That's what matters, is trying hard. So do something that represents moving your feet in the right direction. And then, yeah, so it's kind of like 80-20. Mm-hmm. You do get 80% off the hook for a limited period of time. And because I always find that works. Like if you think about that, mm-hmm. Isn't that your experience? If you're not conscious, it might take a whole week on the couch.
Right, exactly.
But at some point, you want to get up again.
Right.
And when we bring more consciousness to it, we can go, okay, we're getting a day off, and I'm mm-hmm. really going to revel in it. Because that's the other thing. I think it takes less time when I'm not beating myself up.
Right. Yeah. And I have realized that when I'm not in awareness, that what I do is when I get this great idea that's bold, I will all of a sudden, I'm exhausted, I'm worn out, I just need to check out, and I deserve time off. And I take that checkout time until the passion for the idea has faded. And then lo and behold, I feel safe to get back to work. But I don't feel like doing that anymore.
Right. The passion has faded. And that's mm-hmm. where I really, I can really relate to what you said right at the beginning of like, am I ADD?
Right.
Because I have, and I call it bright, shiny object syndrome.
Right.
I get really excited about things.
Yeah. So, I've had 2 therapists, send me to different psychiatrists for testing for ADD medication. Both psychiatrists had said, definitely, you have ADD, and given me medication. And, all I do is have more energy to do stupid little things. I mean, I guess it's not stupid. You need to clean the house, but insignificant, safe things like right. But it doesn't change the fact that I'm not getting my work done because I have ADD. It's because I'm afraid to take the risk. I'm afraid to feel that vulnerability that you feel mm-hmm. when you put yourself out there. And ADD drugs don't cure that.
They don't. I know. Yeah, let's put our heads together and invent the drug that does cure that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But it actually, I joke about that. But what I really want for us all is not a shortcut.
Yeah.
But to get the blessing that I think is wrapped in this particular shit brown wrapper.
Yeah.
I think so many of life's greatest blessings are wrapped in our greatest challenges.
Yeah.
And that's how it works.
Yeah.
The thing that you keep banging your forehead bloody against has within it the blessing you came here to get.
Yeah, I agree with that. And this whole vulnerability thing that I first was exposed to with Brene Brown in her TED Talks. And I mean, it just really hit me when I saw it. And I've probably watched it 10 times. It was just such a profound thing for me as a woman who, I was raised to be tough. And so
invulnerable, right?
Right. It's like, vulnerability is for, if you're feeling vulnerable, you're weak, forget that. You stuff it down, you just have to be tough. And coming to the realization that, being courageous is about feeling vulnerable, and how important it is to, in your relationships, by being able to be vulnerable, all of your relationships are so much better.
Yeah, sweeter. And you change people's lives by naming the stuff that we're all going through.
Yeah.
This very conversation, the fact that you are convening conversations around resistance from a feminine standpoint, or maybe I'm putting that on it, but women and resistance,
yes.
I think is profound. And every time we name the gritty bits that we go through, so many other people stand up and go, oh my gosh, I thought you'd never say that.
Yeah, right.
I didn't know that. And it's like neither you nor I is showing up with a solution here, right? We're just voicing our questions around it and how we're muddling through it. And that's of service. So that's really sweet. And let's take that down to the personal level. I think that's all we have to do to summon more courage to walk through our most scared times. We don't have to get past being scared. Mm-hmm. We just have to get past wailing on ourselves for being scared.
Right.
So that there's a little sliver of room for the vulnerability to just be there.
Right.
There's a practice called the Sedona method that I could just, would be okay if if I just click us into it a little bit?
Yeah.
So it's the most effective way I find to lead meditation or exercises is to do something myself. So I'll just kind of tell me if my voice gets too quiet. I call it my inside voice.
Okay.
You know, when you're talking to yourself and you get sort of mumble and nobody else can hear you.
Okay.
So I don't want to do that. But, just allow any fear or resistance. Think about a project that you have, and allow any fear or resistance that you feel to come up. And just notice where that is in your body and take a couple deep breaths into that place. And can you just feel what you're feeling as much as you are? And you just allow it to have the size and shape and texture that it has. Could you just let it be here? As much as it is. And can you notice that it does have an edge? That you do exist past the edge of the sensation? But could you let the sensation not be here just as much as it is not here? Just as you just allowed it to be here as much as it is, can you let it not be here? Can you welcome the absence of that sensation? I ask myself, can I let myself be as scared as I'm not? That might be backward language for other people, but it resonates for me. Can I be as scared as I am? And I feel where I feel that, down kind of low in my chest, right around where my two underwires meet. And can I just allow myself to be as scared as I'm not? It might help you to say, can I feel as courageous as I do? Can I feel as bold as I do? Can I feel as clear or certain as I do?
Wow, that's really powerful.
What did you experience?
Yeah, I felt like instead of it being, you ever when you crack an egg into a dish and there's a piece of shell in it, and you know how when you're trying to get the shell out, and the way as you push into the egg white, the shell kind of runs away?
Yeah, slippery.
Yeah, right. And that's how the resistance normally is.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that doing this exercise, it was more, it stopped and it moved, it stayed in its place, and just kind of acknowledging it, that it was more solid in there, that I could kind of get a handle on it and feel it, and then it kind of went away. Like it wasn't, the strength behind it was gone because I wasn't chasing it around.
Yeah. And ironically, tell me if this resonates for you too. It another metaphor that sometimes feels like for me is like a boogeyman right over your shoulder.
Yeah.
And as long as you don't slow down and stop and turn around and look it in the eye,
yeah,
it's 10 feet tall and bulletproof.
Right.
But the moment you slow down and stop and go, okay, you're behind me and I'm going to be present to you. You turn around and you're like, yeah, I'm bigger than you, and you're actually somewhat vulnerable, or you just are what you are.
Yeah.
It just stops being this thing that could be infinite. And that process. So I took you through really just one cycle. We went to, can we let it be there as much as it's there? Can the shell just be there? And there it is. And then the rest of the egg. And if it doesn't, for anyone listening, if it doesn't respond in that way as quickly as MJ felt movement, keep iterating. Go back and forth. And there's, just like working snarls out of my little girl's hair or anything else, just staying with it and lovingly massaging it and not trying to get it to move. You're not throwing into I'm going to fix this.
Right.
Just, it's allowing.
Mm-hmm.
It very, I don't think, I don't want to overstate it, but I don't think I've ever taken my time with it and not had it kind of pop like a bubble or soften like a sore muscle after a great massage. It just creates more space. And that's all you need is a little bit of room to take another courageous action and then go watch Downton Abbey.
Wow. That is a great technique that I hope a lot of people are able to get some value out of that as something to actually put into practice when you're feeling that resistance to write that blog post or make that phone call to follow up with that person that you met networking or, any of those things that are vulnerable that we are resisting doing to market our businesses.
Yeah. And that's it. What you just said reminded me of another distinction that's really helpful for me. It's helpful as kind of a bullshit detector to see, am I running away from something? There are prepper actions, and those are the ones that don't involve other people.
Yeah. Oh, I'm good at those.
The ADD drug helped you do better, right?
Right.
I'm good at those. Your house looks like $1 million, and you haven't put an offer out there in months.
Yep.
So interactions are the other kind of action. And interaction is intrinsically vulnerable because other people are involved. So it's introducing yourself to someone. It's making an offer and asking someone to work with you. It's putting out something you're trying to say that you aren't positive is going to resonate for other people, even if you're confident in it. Any blog post is intrinsically vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah, that fear of rejection, anything that you could possibly get rejected from by, that's where you can have a lot more resistance to.
Yeah. Well, and I think we get our bar so high, like we start to label as rejection anything short of fanfare.
Right, exactly. It's like you get 27 praises and one person going, oh, I don't know. And then you're like, oh my God, he didn't get it. He's, criticizing me. And
Yeah. Or I sent out my newsletter and I got no one subscribes and 15% click-through rate, but I didn't get any notes that said this is the best thing I ever read, and I usually get those.
Yes.
So the absence of those means it sucked.
Yes, right.
It's really...
Yes. Well, Michele, I want to value your or honor your time, and so we just have like 2 minutes left, and I would love it if you would take a moment and tell us about your business. Your website's the Hot Love Revolution, and tell us a little bit about what that business is and your class that you have that you're doing.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. It's hotloverevolution.com. All one word, no dashes or anything, and really. I make more love is my whole work. I focus a lot on couples, but also sort of by popular demand. A lot of women resonate with my message, even if they're in a different chapter of life. And I'm seeing that it really is about awakening women's power, and particularly through the lens of their sensuality, their desire, their pleasure. So to that end, I lead a free 21-day camp. And as MJ and I are speaking, we're a couple weeks away from the start of the first one, but I think that this will be something that I offer over time as well, again and again. So feel free to go to oocamp.com, OOOCAMP, and it's a guided 21-day experience so that you can explore for yourself who you become when you experience consistent, ecstatic pleasure. It has been my experience with myself and with my one-on-one clients that when we turn up the toe-curling pleasure in our lives, we activate our connection to our internal feminine power center, our yoni, our point, you can call it whatever you want, but it's a part of your body and a part of your mind and a part of your soul. And once you're in touch with it, you are smarter, you are more relaxed, you are more available to the love that's available to you already. And women find that it helps their businesses, it helps their health, it helps their relationships. So I designed this course to be a free way that anyone can get that introduction. So you're invited.
And I signed up for the course, and I'm really looking forward to it because, in little ways, I've seen how having more pleasure in my life definitely makes me a better wife, better in my business. I tend to, my conditioning is to run on empty and to just push and work. And I'm realizing that I get more work done, and in all areas of my life, I show up better when I have more pleasure in my life. So I'm excited to do this class. And regardless of when, you come across this blog post, even if she's no longer doing those, I've taken other classes with Michele and get lots of value out of them. So, go to her site and sign up for her list, and you'll get notified of anything new that she does because it's really great stuff.
Thanks so much, NJ.
You're very welcome.
And it's a pleasure to awaken the pleasure in you and watch what you do with it.
Thank you. Michele, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to do this interview with me. I have enjoyed it so much. And thank you to all of you listening for spending your time listening to us chat. I hope that you got something out of it. You can subscribe to our blog at njnh.com in order to hear more insights on building a thriving business in spite of that resistance. Thanks, everybody. Bye.